number's 347-326-9741. 347-326-9741. I assume everybody should know us by now, but I'm Brian Butcher Brown. Michael Dolan, also known as Delicious. Hey, Delicious. And of course, Nick Bragg.
Yes, sir. What's going on, boys?
There he is. He's done tweeting. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you? You get that flood taken care of over there?
Yeah. You know, it's all pumped out. I'm feeling good about myself.
You rocking the clam diggers all day?
Yeah.
All those pants up around the knees?
Yeah, you know how it is around here when it rains. It's pretty fucking awesome. You know, it looked like it was gonna hold off for me, and I got a little cocky, so I decided to go watch the hockey game last night, and then I turned around and I got water all up in the front of my house. So
you can wear those
cool.
Those 3/4 capri pants that your mama got you for Christmas.
See, there was some use. There was some use for those. So thanks, Ma. I appreciate it. It kept me dry, and Bill Brown asks, was it bad, brah? It was pretty bad. If I didn't catch it when I caught it, it probably would have been in the kitchen. So that's a good thing that I did get up off my fat, lazy ass and go take a look. And I was able to run the pump outside and start pumping shit out. So, and if it didn't stop raining either, it would have been fucking terrible. But, wow, for me. At least we're here. Everybody's safe. Everybody gets the Cauliflower for the Year show, but only half of it. We're only giving you half the show for the same price, people, so pay up and get ready to get ripped off.
What's up, Popsies?
So, there was obviously a pretty big fight card Saturday night, and if my math is correct, Franco, with this fantasy battle that's going on, I think you got to be sweating right now, because I believe I gained another point on you, and and Dolo may have actually gotten even closer than that. So why don't you break it down for us? Let us know what's going on.
That is correct. We had 6 fights on Saturday night, so 1 extra fight. That was the halfway point of this season's contest. Just a reminder to all the listeners out there, I have won the first 3 contests that we've run, so I'm 3-0, and I haven't lost yet. So. No, 3.
Me and you ripped up before I just took this show over and blessed you with my presence.
Yeah, exactly. It was just 1-on-1, and then we did 2 with all 3 of us. So there were 6 fights. I'll just go down the line here. I was 3 out of 6 for 21 points. Dubs 3 out of 6 for 22 points. As he said, he did gain a point on me. And then Dolan had the best night out of everybody. He was 4 out of 6 for 27 points.
What?
Nice. I take it back. Dolo didn't have Pickett in the second round on the last fight card by submission. All right?
Sneaky stuff. So basically, like I said, after 5 events, we're halfway down. 3rd place, the Butcher, 88 fantasy points.
That's pretty good.
2nd place, the Delicious One. He's so scrumptious. He's at 2nd with 91 fantasy points. And then myself, 110 points. So it's 110, 91, 88. So still a commanding lead.
Can't shake you.
Franco almost with a 20-point lead with Dubs bringing it up the rear.
Well, he's got, me by 22, and how much is he up on? What's your score again, Michael?
I got 91.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. I was going to say,
you know
I
what
wasn't
saved
sure.
you, Dubs? I almost had you beasted with the Schaub fight, because if Raffo didn't catch Schaub in the first, which you called like an effing Nostradamus, that really saved you. That was an extra 10 points. So you would have been
Absolutely. That was the easiest fight on the card to call, in my opinion. That was so easy, and you boys
such
both
a Monday morning quarterback.
I don't know about you two. I thought John Jones was the easiest fight to pick. That didn't work out for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. That probably was the easiest fight.
It was, but I think me and Franco, obviously picked with our hearts on that one, because you saw my struggles last week trying to pick that fight, and I really wanted to scream out John Jones, as my brain was saying, and of course I picked Rashad like a fucking loser, so I deserve that.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about it this morning, and we've been doing this contest for a while now. We've been doing the show for almost a year. So I picked Ryan Bader, Shogun Rua, Rampage Jackson, Lyoto Machida, and Rashad Evans. The last 5 fights I picked against John Jones every single fight.
That's because you hate him. You fucking hate his guts.
I can't. You know what? The Henderson fight's a couple months away. There's no way I could go against Jones. There's no way I can pit against him.
Absolutely not. The only times I picked against Jones was with Machida and Evans, and that's because I let my fucking heart get in the way. Obviously, this kid is a beast. He's possibly the best fucking ever. I mean, it's just ridiculous, dude. Nobody challenges him. I mean, Rashad caught him with a couple of good shots, but other than that, I mean, it was just pretty easy for him the whole way. I mean, I can't say I didn't expect it, but, you know, I was hoping Rashad was going to be able to do something, and all he did was catch him, with one kick and one overhand right. Other than that, there was no other danger for John Jones in that fight.
Yeah, it almost reminded me to a certain extent. Obviously, the technique was a little bit different, but it almost looked like Rashad versus Phil Davis. Just as far as skill levels go, I feel like John Jones was in control the entire time, and he had Rashad hurt a few times. He probably could have finished him. I think if there wasn't the mental edge that Rashad had over him as former training partners and sort of, you know, big brothered him. John Jones even said afterwards that Rashad had big brothered him a few times in practice. So I think if you take that edge away, Jones probably would have been more aggressive and would have finished him. But Rashad, you know, he said you got to go in, you got to mix it up with him. You can't stay at his range. You can't stand there and watch him because then he's going to, he's going to paint a portrait on you, paint a masterpiece on you, and that's exactly what happened. I think people know what they have to do against him. They just can't do it. He's just very impressive. He was really, like you said, he landed the one overhand right and the one kick. He hit him pretty good with both those shots. The right hand was a really solid punch, but I mean, John Jones is he looked untouchable at this point. I don't think anybody at 205 is going to give him, is going to give him a challenge. And even afterwards, they were asking Rashad. Jones kept he's pulling his hands out there, and he would put both hands out. Rashad was grabbing them, and he was hitting that elbow. And they told him in the corner between rounds, stop grabbing his hands. He's going to hit that elbow on you. And they asked Rashad afterwards, and he said, he's so deceptive with his technique and the way he is. When he was putting his hands out, I was thinking I was going to be able to grab them, and then that's where I'd be able to get my shot and get inside and take him to the ground. But he said every time I grabbed his hands, I was getting hit in the face with an elbow before I even knew what was happening. So he said, he was really slick. He had a lot of stuff that he hadn't seen in practice, and you could tell Rashad felt like after the fight that, he was just outmanned.
He was definitely fucked. But, I mean, obviously, Dolan picked this one right, so I would love to hear from him because I'm sure he feels really good about himself today. So what do you think? Do you think Rashad, if he went back to the drawing board, do you think he could possibly have a shot? Because, of course, at the post-fight presser, he said when John Jones wanted to bury the hatchet, he said, yeah, we might be cool, but, we're going to have to just keep it professional because we're probably going to be competing again. Do you think he's got any shot at all here?
I mean, I think he does if you take John Jones out of the 205-pound division. And I don't even mean it like an asshole, dude. I just felt like, to hear John Jones say that, he didn't feel like himself and he wasn't as confident in his strikes. And I don't think it was that obvious, but I did feel like something was a little off with Jones, whether it was the mental edge with Rashad or what. But one thing he had said was, he needs to stop worrying about what other guys have and focus on his abilities and what he can do. So if he hasn't been doing that, we're all in trouble. He's just an absolute monster, pretty much cleared out 205. I'd love to see him removed because I want to see him in a fight. And he even said it in the lead-up with the fight with Rashad, saying, Rashad's talking all this shit, saying I'm going to bring a fight to him and stuff like that. He said, good. I've been looking for a fight the whole time. And he's just been walking through people. So, I don't know, man. I felt like Jones was just a superior fighter, and it was a typical John Jones fight where guys, like Nick said, know what they need to do. Don't stay on the outside. You're just going to get picked apart, pick your spots. And, Rashad found himself in front of John Jones like Rampage did. So I just felt like to watch him fight was just really impressive, and I really think he needs to go to the heavyweight division to really get challenged. So if you get him out of there, I mean, you got Rashad, you got Shogun, you got a couple different guys you can get in there in Hendo. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, but I think blown away. Yeah, I'm sorry. A lot of people are sort of clamoring for him to go to heavyweight, and Dana White said this afterwards, and I sort of agree with him. He basically said, the kid can make 205 right now. He's still only 24 years old. There's plenty of time to go up to heavyweight. If he either gets too big for light heavyweight, or at a certain point, if he's starting to, if he loses a little bit of speed, maybe it's time. But even Dana White said it's a whole different ball game up there. You got guys. He's fighting guys now that are probably 215, 220 before they cut. Guys up there 50 pounds heavier. The punching power is a lot different. So, let's say he does go up within the next year or something, and, obviously he's the best 205er in the world by far. Let's say he goes up and he fights some of the elite heavyweights and he gets knocked out twice just because they're heavier punchers, or he just gets caught with a lucky punch or anything, and then he loses his chin, and then he loses the mystique. Now does he go back down to 205? There's a lot of things that can go wrong with him moving up. So I'm not saying that he won't or that he shouldn't, but I don't think he should be in such a rush to move up is my point. I think, he's still got a couple big fights at 205. He's got a long career ahead of him. I wouldn't be in a rush to go up there and fight these guys that, are probably 20, 25% stronger than the guys you're fighting now, because he's got a lot of tools, and he's got, technical strength and agility and sort of leverage, but he's not the physically strongest guy. If you're one of those big heavyweights that are slick and they can wear on him and they can tire him out and they hit him with a big punch, you might be in trouble.
I agree with that, but also the thing, though, is, man, I don't know if any of those guys up there have the quickness to compete with him. I think
JDS, I mean, if he's going to go up there, he's going to fight for the title. I think he's the guy that would give him the most problems by far, because he's fast and he's a good boxer. I mean, JDS is 6'4". He's only like 228, 230, I think. Like, he's like, he's not so big that he's slow, and, he's a knockout puncher. I feel like that's probably the worst matchup for him there, which is sort of, ironic because he's the champion, but, I feel like he would have problems with Dos Santos.
See, I agree, and I'm not, but at the same time, I'm not 100% sure, because of course we see JDS fighting all these natural heavyweights, that he's gone up against. It might look like he's quicker than we think he is, and if he gets in there with a guy like John Jones, he might look like he's walking in quicksand. I mean, I definitely say he's a challenge, but I don't know, man. I think John Jones can definitely move around that cage a lot better than any of the heavyweights they'd be pitting him against. So, I think he still might have an advantage. But like you said, if they wait on it, or if he loses a step and he gets a little bit slower, he's definitely going to be at a disadvantage because of the strength.
Yeah, but I agree with you. But I just feel like a lot of worse stuff can happen to him going up right now. Like Danny said, it's not going anywhere, man. You're 24. You have your whole career to move up. Like, stop. He's dying to go up there. I guess he wants to make history, but you're 24, 25, maybe by the time you go up, bam, you go up, you get knocked out once or twice. Maybe you lose your chin a little bit. It's just, to me, you're going to get there eventually. If I were him, I would just kind of shut up and wait it out. You got a couple fights. You got Henderson and probably Gustafsson. After that, you never know. I mean, we were saying this about welterweight a few years ago, that who's going to challenge GSP. These kids are just starting to come out of the woodwork. It's very cyclical. I think 205, you got a lot of guys that are getting up there in age and were good 5-6 years ago. Eventually, the talent will start coming again. And they'll be, within another year or two, there are going to be a couple of young kids at 205 that are going to be title contenders. It's just because we don't know who they are right now, I mean, they're out there somewhere.
Well, I agree. Go on, Mike.
I was just going to say, we could say that about John Jones. Who knew who John Jones was 3.5 years?
Exactly.
So when you look at that, John Jones may be a once-in-a-lifetime guy. He may not. I don't know. But, I mean, I see both sides of the coin, the argument that you guys are making. But to Nick's point, I just think there's fights at 205 still. I'd like to see Henderson fight him, get a huge puncher's chance with an overhand right. But, John Jones showed me in this last fight, not that he, got destroyed, but he took 2 huge shots that we had never seen Jones take before. He took the head kick clean, and the right was a monster. Jones said he thought he was fine, and then he went to go move laterally, and he said he got dizzy, and he was like, oh, shit, guess he caught me there. So, I thought he really showed something. So I'm not in a rush, and I think his speed will be his advantage up there, but he's not going to lose his speed in 2 years. He's probably going to get quicker. He's only been striking for about 2.5 years, so... I mean, if he goes up there at 26, 27, he's still going to have a substantial advantage with the speed and just with the technicality of the strikes. And I mean, the wrestling, the ultimate base, it's just a non-issue. I don't know, but I'm not ready to see him go off right now. From a fan's perspective, I am, because that would be great. But I don't think it's a smart move on any level as far as the UFC or John Jones' career goes.
Yeah, I don't want to see him up there yet either. I want to see the Gustafsson fight. Unfortunately, I just don't think Dan Henderson is going to pose much of a threat. I just don't think he's quick enough. I mean, I mean, anything's possible. It would be a nice story and everything. And obviously, like you both said, I mean, he's got that crushing power. He probably can hit as hard as a heavyweight. So if John Jones can survive a shot from him if he gets tagged, then that's the answer to the question. If he can take it and hit by some of those heavyweights up there.
And Henderson has to get him early, dude. Henderson can't go 5 rounds of John Jones because it ain't going to last that long. It's got to be first, in a big flurry in the first where Henderson just bum rushes him and just trades, or, something in the first or, second round, or else it's ball game because Henderson will be, clutching his knee.
Absolutely. I mean, Henderson will never be able to get him down if he needs to get desperate and go for a takedown. He just can't do it. So, I agree with you. It's got to be like in the first round. He's got to catch him and then put him out.
I'd like to see if an Olympic wrestler can put him down, I mean, Dan Henderson was Olympic trials multiple times,
I understand, but Dan Henderson can't do it. He ain't going to get him down. There's no way.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dubs. I don't think, like I was telling Dolan, that probably my 2 favorite fighters are probably Rashad and Henderson. I really like the way that they both fight. I think Henderson's got zero chance. Not zero chance. He literally has a puncher's chance because him and Rashad have similar tools with wrestling, even though the wrestling style is a little bit different, but really strong wrestling and, big overhand rights. And Henderson probably has more power in his overhand right, I would say, but Rashad's is a lot faster. Rashad's a lot faster overall, and he tried to play that game with Jones, and Jones controlled 90% of that fight, so I don't see what Henderson can do. Henderson was saying he wants to get him in the Greco clinch because that's where he works, but Jones is really good in that clinch as well, so I think Henderson takes a couple big elbows in that clinch. I just don't see it, man. I almost am not really looking forward to that fight because I think Henderson could get annihilated. And, I think it's probably just a hater in me, but I always have that feeling, even during that Rashad fight, Rashad didn't follow up. He even said it afterwards, even after that big right. The kick, I don't know. The kick was solid. I think he missed it a little bit. I think that overhand right really hurt him. And he didn't follow up on it like he should have. He didn't go in for the kill. He didn't get super aggressive because you have so much respect for Jones and his talents, and you feel like he can hurt you at any point as well. But I feel like once he gets roughed up, I think that the people are going to stop fearing him, like the Mike Tyson thing, where basically once somebody knocked him out, it was like, all right, it was more of a mental thing, and people went in there and started mixing it up with him. I feel like the same thing is going to happen with Jones. Once somebody gets in there and hurts him, people are going to stop. You have to respect what he does, but you can't sit there and let him do it at his own leisure because you're afraid to get hit. So it almost felt like at a certain point in that fight, Rashad was happy to just get through it and have a moral victory and last the 5 rounds. I think at a certain point, once somebody gets to him, he's going to lose a couple.
I don't disagree with that, but I mean that's yet to be seen if anybody can get to him. I mean he really does look. Every time out, he looks incredible. He looks like he just keeps getting better. So, I don't know how easy that's going to be. I mean, we might have to wait a while before someone finally figures him out.
Yeah, and I think, Dan Henderson of like 05, I think that's a much better fight because Henderson had a better gas tank. Probably was a bit more explosive. And I think Henderson kind of gets sort of comfortable in a fight, and he gets a little bit lackadaisical, and we've obviously seen him gas a little bit. But, a fight like when him and Fedor fight, that was an awesome fight because he went in there and he was trying to get comfortable in the pocket, and him and Fedor just started swinging, and it just became a war. John Jones isn't going to do that with him. John Jones is smart.
Yeah.
He's obviously got, Greg Jackson's camp. He's going to use his speed. He's going to stay away from him. He's not going to give Henderson any chance to hit him. And then by the 3rd round, Henderson's going to start lumbering around, and Jones is going to go for the kill. I just don't see it. I don't see Jones getting close enough to him in that first round to let him land that punch, because I think, like Dolan said, that's the only time he's going to win that fight. And it's just, I don't want to see it because I hate Jones so much and I like Henderson so much, but I feel like it's going to be all John Jones.
I love it, Dubs. This coming from Franco, who with John Jones is like Al Pacino and 2 for the money. I'm Brandon Lang the second he goes 0 for 13 after the perfect week. No, I mean, don't get it twisted, dude. I don't think that Henderson's going to win that fight at all. And I think the best fight right now of what we see on the horizon is Gustafsson. Because Gustafsson's a good striker, and he's the only guy who can come close to at least trying to minimize the length of Jones.
Yeah, no, he's totally about the same.
Yeah, but that was a ground and pound. I see Jones then. Jones is so good which annoys me so much because, like, if I haven't mentioned this yet, I hate him. But Gustafsson can probably give him problems on his feet because of the length, like everybody's saying, but he doesn't have anywhere near the wrestling of Jones. So Jones is going to say, all right, this guy's a little bit more dangerous on his feet. I see Jones taking him down and dominating position on the ground with him.
Yeah, that's pros. You know, I don't know about Gustafsson's, sprawling and whatnot, but certainly not a wrestling base. And John Jones of all-American caliber. So that's the thing about John Jones. He can hurt you in so many ways and take it so many places. And then when you go 84.5 inches, that's a 7-foot wingspan. Kid's 6'5", so it's just too much, But he's just smart. He can implement any game plan, and like Nick said, he'll just probably put a throw in here and there, and then just beat him up with the elbows on the ground, break his face, like Brandon Vera.
He's really good everywhere. Like he's very, very good everywhere. You're not going to match skill with him. You're not going to match physicality with him because you're not as big and long. You have to fucking brawl this kid. That's the only way that anybody's going to get to him. Get in there, mix it up. You have to be not afraid to get hit, and you just have to go in there sort of with reckless abandon, make it a brawl, make him think about it. Rashad hit him with that right, like Dolan said, and they sort of danced a little bit. I think Rashad taunted him, and like Dolan said, Jones went to sidestep and he stumbled a bit. And then Rashad got a little bit more aggressive, but it's like, dude, go for the kill. This is it. If you don't get him here, he's going to get comfortable, and he's going to continue to pick you apart. As soon as you get him, get inside and start fucking throwing.
And that wasn't like, Rashad was under the false illusion that, that was the case prior. He landed the kick in the first round, and that was it. So it had been a round and a half since he did anything. So what would have made him think anything but, this is it. I got to go for it, because otherwise he's just going to pick me apart, like Nick said. So I just don't, I don't get it, I mean, who Nick just described, that was Vanderlei Silva. Come in with reckless abandon, don't care, like one of the bushwhackers.
Yeah, Vanderlei would be perfect. Somebody catch a foot to the face, and that'd be the end of it. Now, Rashad's best move in that whole fight was when he turned around and he made Jones miss, and then he just took it and wiped his ass with it. That was great in the second round. That was his best move for the whole fight.
So
getting lumped up, so he has time to do that.
Well, yeah, but it's like the kid, Jones isn't like, he's a fighter, and we've seen him be able to take a punch, but he's straight technique, like he even says it, like he's very scientific about it, like you got to make it a street fight with him, and not to say that that's easy, and you know what, you might go out there and you might lose in the first round because you're trying to do that, but I think, there's, in a fight, for Rashad, first of all, to get through those 5 rounds, it's somewhat impressive. He even said afterwards, when he got hit with those elbows, they were like, what was going through your head? How hurt were you? He just basically said, I was trying not to show him how much those elbows really hurt me and how hurt I was, because there was a couple times where I was seeing double. And, we questioned his chin a little bit, and I think Jones hit a big elbow in the second, and it was similar to the Machida fight. After that elbow, the entire fight was different. I think, he was a little bit foggy. I don't think he ever fully recovered from that elbow. That's what John Jones does to you. One strike, even if it doesn't put you out, it still affects you for the rest of the fight. And, you can't let him get comfortable. As soon as he gets comfortable, the fight's over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after he hit him with that big elbow, if you remember, I mean, Rashad's hand never left his head, the right side of his head after that. So it was very tough for him to get to let his hands go because he was so concerned with catching another elbow in the eye.
Yeah, totally. And we always, and obviously, saying, you got to go out and swing with them. I'm sure when you get hit that hard, natural reaction is like, okay, don't get hit again like that because that really fucking hurts. So you kind of, I think slowly but surely you get lulled into that defensive mode because maybe you're holding your own a little bit, but little by little he's starting to land more than you are, and you're hanging in there and you're still looking for your spot, but you're getting hit more and more and more, and then before you know it, it's the 5th round, and you just don't want to get hit anymore. So I see how these fights sort of play out. Even with Rampage, that's how the fight went. And Rampage sort of seemed to give up a little bit in the 4th. He just had enough. But, he's just a hard guy to deal with, man. I mean, if people were complaining that was a boring fight, I thought it was an interesting sort of chess match. Obviously, you'd rather have a more exciting fight, a more competitive fight. But I just think, as much as I hate him, he's fun to watch. Because, I mean, how do you figure the guy out?
You can't. He's so creative in there, but... I don't know why anybody would say that was a boring fight. I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, maybe, obviously, I know we're watching every event, so maybe it looked great to the 3 of us and the people we watched it with. And, the casual fan is looking at it going, oh, fuck this, they build it as these two guys hating each other. Why ain't they just running straight at each other, windmilling their fists, So I guess that's part of it. But, to watch a dude like him work and be able to basically do whatever he wants, I mean, that alone is impressive, So, the thing is trying to find somebody to give him a test. And, of course, three of us just agree we don't think Dan Henderson's the guy. The other argument everybody's trying to say is, let's do the Anderson Silva-John Jones fight. I honestly don't know if that's the answer either. I think Anderson Silva would probably lose that fight. What do you guys think?
I think you have to say that because, if GSP is going to go up to fight Anderson Silva, I mean, my standpoint is GSP is phenomenal, but I just feel like him moving up to fight a guy in Anderson Silva, and I said it before, who's fought at 205 and done it successfully and impressively. John Jones is the equivalent to that, though, for Anderson Silva, because John Jones, we're saying he's not ready to go up to heavyweight, but physically, I mean, he's just so big that I think he's too big for Anderson Silva. So, Anderson has the striking, and you talk about, pinpoint precision and whatnot. That defines Anderson Silva, but I don't know, man. I mean, maybe, if Anderson wins another, 2 fights over the next 2 years, maybe I'll want to see, but then Anderson will be so old. I still just, I don't know, man. I don't think it's the right move.
I don't either. What do you think, Nick?
I'm sorry. Obviously, the last couple of years, the dream match has been Silva and GSP. I don't really want to see that fight. I think GSP's really got no shot. I think he has no shot. I was saying to Dolan, I actually think GSP's better suited for 155 than 185. I think he could probably make that weight if he lost a little muscle, whereas he'd be probably one of the smallest, middleweights in the division. I would give Anderson Silva a really good shot against Jones just because I think Jones' game plan would be to take him down and ground and pound him, but Anderson's really slick on the ground. And, even though he looked so bad against Sun, and I think he was a little off that night, he would be going for submissions. It wouldn't be easy on the ground either. But, like Dolan said, he's so pinpoint when he's, ready for a fight, and they're obviously going to start on the feet. If he just touches Jones a couple times early in that fight, it just becomes a different fight, and I think he finishes him early. So I don't know. I think I would love to see the betting odds if they ever fought, but I'd give Silva right now a good chance in that fight. Another year or two, like Dolan was saying, I think Jones is going to keep getting better, and Anderson's probably going to dissolve a little bit just because he's getting a little bit older. But I wouldn't count Silva out just because he's just got such effective strike. He's got such knockout power with everything that he throws, and I still think that Jones, is a guy that doesn't love getting hit. So I think if he could pepper him a little bit early, he could finish him. But wouldn't be shocked if John Jones, took him down and handed him out $50 steel.
He's going to pound him out.
Nothing told us that anyone can take a good amount of shots from Anderson Silva, regardless of weight class. Because when he was 205, he was putting dudes out. I mean, James Irvin, Jesus, that's not even fair. But even Forrest, he was fucking with Forrest, who was 2 fights away from defending the UFC title before that, and literally he picked him apart on the feet, and then was getting bored messing around with him, just back step right, and it was over. I mean, John Jones, if he gets, 2-piece or catches, like Nick said, a kick or something, I don't know. I want to see that. I'll tell you that much. And if it's going to happen, I'd rather see it now than 2 years from now. But still, I don't know.
I agree with you both there because obviously, Anderson Silva can definitely throw with maximum amount of power. Anything he throws, he knows how to throw it. He's a master at striking. But I definitely think John Jones is going to get it down, and if he gets down there, that ground and pound it would be just dangerous. I think he could put Silva out with it, but it's an interesting fight. It's definitely more interesting than GSP versus Anderson Silva, and I would think I would rather see that fight. Of course, the other fight's kind of been promoted on and off the last few years, so I don't know if we'll get that first.
Yeah, I don't think that fight's happening, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You got GSP, who's probably the game's changed a lot. I think he's an undersized welterweight at this point. Most of these welterweights now are like 6'1". He's still, you look at the co-main event with Rory McDonald, Shane Mills. Those guys are both a lot bigger than GSP. GSP used to be one of the bigger guys, but GSP's only I think 5'10", maybe 5'11". He's got a solid amount of muscle. He's got big legs. So he's not like a Paul Harris where he's like loaded with muscle, but he's not the biggest, 170 pounder in the world. And, Anderson's a really big 185. He's probably 200 to 210 before he cuts. So it's almost like a weight class and a half apart from the guys. So I don't even think it would be a fair fight. But I don't know. Speaking of Rory McDonald, I was joking with Dolan the other night while we were watching this. You think GSP's just aligning himself with this kid so he doesn't have to fight him?
I definitely, you know what, Psycho? I gotta fucking say that's a great point because he's definitely
he's out there holding his spit bucket.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here, kid, come here. Let me change that mouthpiece. Let me wash it off for you. Let me wipe you down. I gotta agree 100%. He wants no part of this fucking animal.
No. That kid's got, they were saying afterwards, maybe the best fucking ground and pound in the UFC. That kid is just violent. Like, I like watching the fights, and even sometimes you watch it with somebody who either doesn't watch it or my girlfriend is just like, oh, I hate when they hit each other like that. And they're just like, they're okay, they're athletes. But when that guy's doing it, I'm like, oh, stop hitting him, man. Like, it just looks more violent than when other people do it.
And he's so unassuming, dude. Like, you look at Rory McDonald, and like even the other night, knowing who he is and seeing his body of work thus far at, the ripe old age of 22. He's out there, and I was saying to Franco as I had my cock in my hands how big Che Mills was. So I was just like, man, he is a monster at 170, and it was as if McDonald just walked through him. It was really impressive, and I don't know what's next for McDonald. I asked Nick that night, who do you have McDonald fight? And, we said maybe John Fitch. I threw out the winner of Koscheck and, Hendricks, but, Nick kind of dismissed it, I think, because he thought that was like a step down for McDonald. McDonald's ready for like a top 3 fight.
I just feel like, let me just really quickly, they're going to have to advance him eventually. They put him in the co-main event, he looks great, so he gets another fight against whoever, maybe a top 10 guy, and let's say he gets a win. Then what are you going to get? A contender fight? It's like they're going to have to make a decision at some point. If he's really this good at this age, a couple of years, 3 more fights if he's this dominant, how's the guy not going to be fighting for a title? So it's going to be a hairy situation. And this kid keeps saying he's not going to fight GSP. I bet when push comes to shove, he's going to fight GSP. GSP won't want to fight him because of the whole camp thing, but I get a feeling from this kid that if he gets offered it, he'll move camps and he'll take it.
I hope so because, I don't think because I know there was an interview a couple weeks ago and they posed the question to him and he didn't say it like he wanted to fight GSP, but I think he did say something to the effect that if the bosses really pushed him into it, that he would have to accept it. So it's already in the back of his head. He doesn't want to commit to it because these guys both talk like they're good friends and everything, but he knows that that's what he wants. And I believe even Dana White said all that he has to do is look at GSP's bank account and he'll want to beat his fucking face in, he said, because, the dude's making money everywhere. Every time he's on the TV, whether it's for ads or, just a spokesman for shit, people just throwing money at the guy. So, I got to agree with Dana there, but the kid's definitely an animal. Che Mills touched him early on in the fight, and it looked like it just pissed him off, and then he just took him apart after that. So, Rory McDonald's definitely the real deal, but I think he probably would get the winner of the Josh Koscheck, Johnny Hendricks, because Johnny Hendricks is on the rise. Koscheck is definitely holding his place in that division, and Fitch is locked up. He's going to be welcoming Aaron Simpson into the 170-pound division. He's fresh off being knocked out by Johnny Hendricks. So if he loses to Aaron Simpson, or if it's another unimpressive John Fitch performance, I don't know if they're really going to put Roy McDonald in there and possibly be humped out of a win.
I'm looking forward to the Koscheck-Hendricks fight just because of what it represents. Koscheck definitely gets, a pretty bad rap and has a pretty bad attitude when it comes down to talking shit. So for Hendricks to have knocked out his boy, Fitch, this is personal for Koscheck, which is going to make him just stand and throw his overhand right. And what Hendricks threw on Fitch was ridiculous. I don't know if Koscheck could take that either. So it's going to be fun to see how that plays out. But I just love that McDonald was getting the Justin Bieber comparisons the other night. That was great by that mean Gene Okerlund lady.
Oh, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm dying over here.
One more thing quickly about McDonald's. They asked him in the post-fight presser about it. He just basically, his answer, what started making me think about it was his answer was, they asked him about, would he ever challenge for the title and how much longer till he thinks he's ready for a title shot. He basically just said, whatever, a couple of years, I'm not in a rush. And he's like, there's a protocol in our gym, is that we don't fight each other, and he's got seniority. So he's basically saying the rules of the gym are there's two guys in the same division. Whoever has the seniority, gets, the other guy makes way for him. But, all you have to do is just change gyms. He basically said, well, the gym's policy is that we can't fight each other, but, it doesn't mean that he can't fucking take the fight. He can just go and train somewhere else.
Absolutely. And that's probably what he's going to end up doing. So, and I hope so, because, for him
you can't blame him. Well, you can't blame him. These guys are in it. You got to look at it. I understand that sometimes they train together, it becomes like a family, but it's a fucking individual sport at the end of the day. It's like a tennis match where you can be friends with the guy and you're gonna have to beat him up, but you're just competing against each other. And it doesn't mean you have to hate each other. But I don't know, man. You wouldn't be. You can't blame him. He's probably making $30,000, $25,000-$30,000 a fight now. If he becomes a champion, he's making $300,000-$400,000 a fight. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Absolutely, it is. But
and I think McDonald, sorry, Dubs, is relatively new to being a TriStar full time. He's trained there, for a long time, and certainly been a guest there, and frequented it probably more than a guest. But I think just recently, maybe this fight or the fight before, he became a full-time fighter there. So it's not like this kid doesn't have ties other places and can go somewhere. I would love to see it. Like GSP said, maybe GSP will go to middleweight, but even GSP doesn't deny it. He said within the next couple of years, this kid's going to be the champion at 170, and GSP isn't 36 years old. So, well, what does that mean? Either GSP's really planning on a move to middleweight, and then seeing what happens, or at catch weights, or McDonald and him are going to fight.
Yeah, I think GSP will probably step out of the way, and he'll move up because I definitely think Rory McDonald is definitely on track to get there, and I think, like Franco pointed out, he wants no part of that kid. So,
hey man, if he does that, that's a good fucking friend. He's gonna go and get taken ass beaten for you from Anderson Silva.
I wouldn't handle the lower tier dudes in that
you
division.
two assholes.
But I guess we got about 20 left, so I guess we'll move on. I know we're gushing over Rory McDonald and his boyish good looks and his sexy physique and all, but there's another guy who walked out to the octagon who was looking pretty ripped and chiseled. And there's one dude who was in his corner last week, and that guy was me, Big Ben Rothwell versus Brendan the Hybrid Schaub. Dolo, what happened here? I thought Schaub had this thing easy.
I was excited. I was saying to Franco, if Rothwell loses this, I'm in really good shape because I knew I had the Jones-Evans fight to look forward to, and I think I was up 1 or 2 fights on you at that point. But, wasn't really climbing ahead massively on points. And Schaub came out, looked good. I mean, he's always loose and looks good on his feet, and he caught Big Ben with a big shot, and he was conscious of not just running in recklessly. I don't know if people have learned a lesson from Pat Barry, or he definitely seemed to get a little too cocky with Big Nogueira. So I feel like he was very conscious when he was running in on Rothwell, kind of waited, landed another pretty decent punch, and then Rothwell just threw a short, tight lap, and that was it. And then Schaub was reaching up at the referee in slow motion with the screw face on his back, literally reaching out. Like it looked like it was in slow motion in real time. So when they ran the replay, it was ridiculous. I mean, it was impressive, man. It's going to be upsetting when it turns out Rothwell pissed hot.
I don't think so. It was fucking hysterical, though. Schaub was cross-eyed, laying on his back, reaching for somebody who wasn't there, trying to grapple with the invisible man. And Rothwell, as he said after in the back room when they interviewed him, he was playing possum. Okay, he wanted Schaub to come in on him, and it was all the way he planned how the fight would go, and then he put Schaub out. So you know what? Obviously, like I said, Ben Rothwell trained really hard and was ready for anything in this fight. So I'll throw it over to Franco because I've said my piece.
Yeah, didn't he really say that?
I swear to God, that's his winning fighter interview before the post-fight presser.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm kind of happy for Ben Rothwell. He's been around for a while, obviously in the IFL. I think he was in Elite XC at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of got thrown to the wolves. He came over here and they put him against Cain Velasquez, and I bet about $400 on him during that fight. So I hated him for a while. And they got a couple, and then he got the Mark Hunt fight, which was a little tough. So I think it was probably, if he had lost that fight, and especially if he didn't look too good doing it, he probably would have been cut. So I'm happy to see him win. You know, I'm not so sure about Schaub now. He's got, 2 straight first-round knockout losses. Haven't really, he doesn't have a lot of big wins. I mean, Gabe Gonzaga probably his biggest win, probably most impressive win. He has the Crow Cop win, but everybody's been beating Crow Cop the last few years. So we've never, I don't know if he's ever going to really develop past, sort of maybe like a mid-tier guy, even if he's able to hang around that long. So, I don't know. I don't love Brandon Schaub, so I'm not too upset about it. Did you guys hear, speaking of Gabe Gonzaga, he's stepping in against Big Country?
I did see that. Yeah, I saw that.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because I think it's a winnable fight for Big Country, and I root for him. But, I don't know, man. They got Travis Brown just came off of, I don't know if they can turn around these guys that fast, but Travis Brown, Rothwell said he'd take the fight. And, Gabe Gonzaga, to me, take away that the Crow Cop win was his biggest win, definitely, and that was before everybody realized that Crow Cop started going downhill. He doesn't have a lot of big wins. Everybody's beating him. I don't really want to see him fight.
Yeah, no. I think the Rothwell thing makes more sense. Rothwell beat him in IFC, didn't he? It would have been a rematch.
He did. Yeah, he did beat him.
I just love take any damage.
That after all this time, Overeem actually is off this card. Like, can you believe this? This is his second fight with the organization. And with all the accusations about steroids, he's actually out because of pissing off. It's pretty amazing.
Did you see the excuse that came out today?
Yeah, I was just going to say, did you guys see that?
Yeah.
I think it's very valid. I'm on the Overeem bandwagon now. Franco, you got the exact quote, or do you want me to pull it up?
No, he just basically said that he was having knee problems and he was given an antibiotic by his doctor. And there must have been something in the antibiotic that he didn't know about. It's funny, because even I was watching Inside MMA before this, and Bob Rutan, he used to train. He's like, listen, he's like, Dana White is so upset with him because when they signed him, Overeem said, listen, you can test me anytime you want to test me. I'm the most drug-tested athlete in the world. I can pass the test at any point. And then, he says that his doctor prescribed him something like, he's like, what doctor is this? Is it the doctor that you saw overseas, or is it the doctor that gave you the piss test, or is it your strength and conditioning? He's like, how does a doctor that knows you personally give you something with steroids in it and then not tell you that it's in there? He's like, he's like, if that were the case, he's like, you could just sue this guy. He said, if a doctor really gave him something with steroids in it that he didn't know that were in there, and it cost him a world title shot, he said that's a slam dunk for a lawsuit.
Sure. Well, the problem is, dude, he was the Dr. Nick from The Simpsons. So that's the only guy who would give him lawyers.
Or the guy from Family Guy is even better. The doctor from Family Guy.
Yeah. Oh God. But no, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. It just cracks me up. But we'll see. I didn't even know that Mir got pulled up to fight Dos Santos until I got to Franco's on Saturday. I had no clue. But I don't know.
Yeah, that whole card got shuffled, and Bigfoot's fighting Kane now, and the only one who didn't have an opponent was Big Country, but like you said, Gabe Gonzaga gets it. But I don't like that matchup either. I definitely would have rather seen one of the other guys fill in there. But, I don't know. Overeem might be cut after this whole thing, if depending on what happens with the commission.
Yeah, because now his name's tainted no matter what happens. So, even if they reinstate him and he's always going to be the steroid guy. So, he comes back, he knocks some people out, and it's like, well, you know what? He wins the heavyweight championship, but he's a steroid user. So, his name's always tainted. His value's tainted. There's nothing you can really do with him. And you know what? He fucked this all up because he came in. He had the problems with the Brock Lesnar thing where he probably skated from a drug test and he still was able to get past. He still was able to fight and make a lot of money. He was probably using steroids and he got around it. And he was set up for a title shot. I mean, now he's going to disappear into the abyss. He's going to go over. He's going to fight a Dreams New Year's Eve show where he can do all the steroids he wants. He's going to fight fucking Sammy Schlitt and, every other jerk-off. He's going to fight. Oh, no. He'll fight whoever, is around. Paul Buentello. This is the guy who's going to fight to make a little bit of money. but, you know, he's never going to be, you know, he's probably done with the UFC.
Listen, this is why I think it's all a mix-up, because in the statement he released, he says he cannot express how sorry he is to the commission, the fans, Dos Santos, and the UFC. And it says, I absolutely do not believe in, nor do I use performance-enhancing drugs. I'm a clean fighter, and I will do whatever it takes to prove this to everyone. It's right there in writing, Franco. You're being a little hard on the guy.
Well, Stephan Bonner said that, Stephan Bonner was on Inside MMA too, and he said, listen, you know, I understand Overeem's a big guy. He's a really manly guy. He's big and muscular. But he said, you know, all naturally, he said, I don't think this guy's 17 times the man that I am.
Wow.
The testosterone ratio.
Yeah. And Stephan Bonner, if we remember, tested positive once, too, so he should know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, speaking of, you guys see fucking Fedor signed to fight Pedro Hizzo?
Absolutely. I can't wait.
I mean, barn burner. Give me a break. Pedro Hizzo, his last two fights are against Gary Goodridge and Ken Shamrock. I did all math.
Well, there you go.
His last two opponents combined age, 94 years old. And their record over the last 19 fights is 3-16. So this is the kind of competition they're bringing in to fight Fedor.
What's wrong with that? It seems solid. Well,
yeah, I mean...
Let's see Overeem Fedor. There you go. Once Overeem's out of the UFC, we'll have that fight.
Overeem will still duck him.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know, man. It's kind of sad. Dana was on, you know, they were talking about Vladimir again from K1. I'm sorry, from M1, and he was saying how, he was like, you know, I've told the story a bunch of times. I went and I met these guys. We were really close to making the Brock Lesnar and Fedor fight. You know, timing was right. Brock was at his hottest. He was a big ticket. Fedor still hadn't lost yet. It would have been a huge fight. He's like, we offered these guys a stupid amount of money. The guy laughed in my face. They wanted to co-promote. They wanted all this other shit. And, you know, he said, I told him, he said, he'll deny it now, but I told him, you guys are one punch away from being worth zero. You know, this is a lot of money. This is a big contract. You know, let's make it happen now. He said the guy laughed at him, and he's like, who's fucking laughing now, dummy?
Yeah, seriously. For what he supposedly offered them, it was ridiculous. But, you know, the guys were greedy, and they really did Fedor a discredit by fucking putting him up against a bunch of fucking no-names the last 6 years. And then he goes to Strikeforce. And, you know, the one thing that everybody knew is that Strikeforce had a legit heavyweight division. So it really wasn't a smart move, considering they were still considered the B team. So he could have went to the UFC where the names were big names. And even if he would have lost, it would have came off a bit better.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you're right. They did sort of hand-fed him. You know, it was like Rocky. They were hand-feeding him opponents, and wasn't really fighting top guys for a while. But he was still in the position to go to the UFC, get an immediate title shot, and make millions of dollars, and they turned it down.
Yeah, he could have been done after that, dude. Like you said, the timing was right. Everything made sense for both him and Lesnar. And the thing was, I guess they thought the gravy train was never going to end. The dude didn't lose for 10, 11 years. So they probably just figured, nobody can put him out. And like we've seen, nobody can stand the test of time, dude. You can't take that many shots to the head and continue just to walk through it. So, you know, yeah, it was tough. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but you know, with all that vodka they're drinking, I don't know about that.
Yeah. I mean, the greed definitely got in the way, though, because obviously we've seen how things ended for Brock. You know, now, of course, if Brock could have got a hold of Fedor, if that fight would have happened, yeah, he probably could have taken him down, but Fedor definitely is crafty. He's got subs, but if they could have pulled off him beating Brock, which it was a possibility on the feet, you know, they would have looked like fucking geniuses, and then maybe they could have leveraged a bigger contract if Fedor kept winning in the UFC. So, you know, now it's all down the tubes.
Yeah, but like you said, matchups are everything, timing's everything. I think he would have knocked Lesnar out in the first round because Lesnar doesn't like getting hit.
Yep.
And then you're probably looking at Cain Velasquez, which is probably a good matchup for Fedor because he's not a huge heavyweight. They're about the same size. You know, so like you never know how things would have played out. If he'd have come, I think he'd have probably beaten Lesnar. I think he would have had a chance to beat Cain. And then even at that point, you know, maybe in the third fight, whether he loses or not, it's going to add so much to his legacy to have beaten the top two heavyweights in the UFC when he came over. Instead, you know, he goes to Strikeforce and he got some tough fights, and, you know, I just kind of got caught by Verdum, and then his luck started to change. But you know, I think he would have beaten Lesnar. I think he would have had a shot against Cain at that point, too.
And let's
very well.
get hit way too much, dude. There's no way. Well, I don't want to say no way, but I mean, Fedor, I think, would have put him out. I mean, Brock always turtled up, so I just think it would have worked out for Fedor, and he would have caught him. And like Nick said, and you had said, Dubs, it would have just been all the leverage in the world, and they could have maybe stolen maybe one co-promotion with the UFC and had him fight Kane, and maybe win, and then maybe JDS catches him third.
Right. Exactly. And but at that point though, his legacy wouldn't have been fucking destroyed. Like it kind of has been. I mean, obviously people still remember, what Fedor did and how dominant he was. But to lose 3 in a row after being that dominant is fucking, it really kind of puts a big black eye on the guy's whole career.
And if it went the other way, it elevates it. It just,
of course, yeah.
It just magnifies his legacy. So yeah, it's tough, but what can you do? There's always Jeff Munson in the world.
Yeah, like I don't like the fact.
Jeff Munson took it to a decision, though, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, Jeff Munson lost, but Fedor couldn't really do anything to him. It was like back and forth, and Munson definitely went to. Well, that's what Munson does. He can go to the decision, and he's won a lot of fights, but he always usually makes it to the bell. So Fedor couldn't put him out.
I wish they would after those 3 losses. It's like. I wish he would either retired and be like, all right, great career. He's probably a little young to retire. Just change, either retire, drop to 205, or, maybe one tune-up fight and then a little competition. But, I mean, fucking Pedro Rizzo, I mean, that's fucking laughable. I mean, the guy's got, he doesn't have a big win in 10 years. It's like a waste of, it's a waste of a fight. I think Fedor's still got a lot left in him. He's not he's not a top 3, top 5 heavyweight, but I think he could still be top 10. He's still got a lot of skills. I mean, even against Henderson, he tagged Henderson. He rocked him before Henderson knocked him out. He's got something left in him. I mean, he's just fucking wasting away against Pedro Rizzo.
Yeah, I agree with you. What was his last fight? I think he got knocked out by Tim Sylvia, right?
No, he's literally his last 2 fights are Gary Goodridge and Ken Shamrock in 2010.
Yeah. That's right. He was pulled from that fight. He didn't get to fight Tim Sylvia.
Yeah, I mean, he fought Gary Goodridge when he was fucking 46 and on a 7-fight losing streak, and he beat him. Then he fought Shamrock the next fight, and those are his last 2 fights.
Oh fuck!
And Goodridge now has what is it? Pugilistic dementia. It's basically boxer's amnesia. So
really,
so that tells you.
Yeah, he's fucked up, dude. He's fucking going down the tubes too. He's fucked. His head blown up. But, well, excuse me. No, I don't know. Poor Fedor. Poor choices. Poor M1.
Yeah, it's just bad management. And Dana was even saying, he's like, listen, I don't hate Fedor. I think he's a great fighter. I don't like his management team. I think they've done him a lot of disservices over the years. And, basically, he's like, I was here, listen, Fedor's a partner in M1. He's like a partner in what? They're not making any fucking money.
They don't make any money.
Nobody watches. He's like, they don't sell any tickets. Nobody watches their shows. Everybody they co-promote with loses money. He said, it's great that he's a partner there, but he's not making any money because the company's not making any money.
Yeah, well, fucking, you know what it is. They'll kill Fedor's family if he doesn't keep fighting and try to make the money. So, they've got him by the balls. He's got to keep showing up and taking ass beatings or, crushing cans for them because it's the only thing M1's got. Because they treat anybody who, won't actually fold for them and do whatever they want. They fucking treat like shit. That's what happened with Vinny Magalhaes, with him going away from them. They kept screwing him every time they were setting up him to defend his title. They would switch opponents on him and shit because he either wouldn't buckle and do what they wanted or something was weird going on there. They're not exactly on the up and up M1.
And Fedor is living in a 1-bedroom apartment in fucking Warsaw with his 3 kids and his wife. You know what I mean? And these guys are making fucking millions of dollars for the last decade.
Well, like I said, they'll fucking kill his brother, kill his family, so he's just got to do it. But,
yeah, his brother doesn't look mixed up into any shit. He looks pretty good. That's a guy I'd want coming in to do my plumbing or something. All the coppers out of the walls a day later.
Yeah, exactly. He'll fucking take everything. But we really don't get enough time to finish up the card, so we could just fucking bullshit for the last few minutes if you guys want.
Nice. I just baked a batch of cookies here. I just took them out. They're looking good.
Are you fucking for real? What kind of cookies are you talking about?
Just straight up chocolate chip, dude.
Oh my god.
Oh, you making them for your meat friend?
Oh my god.
Is he making a beef friend in the buff over there?
I can't wait. That's why we're doing an hour show tonight. I had plans with these cookies at 10, and the second hour are raw.
Executed to perfection. Simply
Brock Lesnar.
perfection.
I'm going to see if he can. I'm going to go watch him do the contract signing with Cena tonight for Extreme Rules.
Oh shit, yeah! I forgot about that. I'm gonna fucking turn that on as soon as I get off the phone here. Let's see how much time we got left on this show. We got 3:17. I can just throw up a song, and we can all get our Raw action on.
Word up.
Then I guess we'll just hit the wrap up then. All right, everybody, just remember to check out Nick Frank at nfrankrotox. Check myself out at Cauliflower #4 Dolan. They'll go to your Facebook. And I don't know if you've gotten a Twitter account or anything recently.
No, I don't subscribe to any of that.
No, and we're all going to Nick
I don't think
Frank's
the internet
house.
has legs. I don't think this is going to last.
Obviously not. It definitely doesn't have legs because nobody listens to us, so obviously it doesn't. We're all going to Nick Frank's house for cookies, and we're all going to jack each other while Brock Lesnar and John Cena sign that contract. I doubt there'll be any shenanigans with that contract signing. What do you guys feel?
No, nobody's going to break anybody through a table or tear any contracts up or anything like that. I'd be shocked if somebody got F5 through the contract table, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, that would be barbaric. I'm not expecting that at all. But, all right, I guess that's it. We'll be back here next week, everybody. Oh, yeah, I guess remember to check me out on Wednesdays as well. You know, I'll be doing another show, the Butcher Block. And that's about it. We're Cauliflower for the years, and I guess we're tapping out.
Stop.